All right, this is Numbers 27 in the MacArthur Study Bible. Little refresher of 26. Basically, it was the second census in the book of Numbers, but for the new generation of Israelites towards the end of the 40-year period, because that first generation pretty much died out. Yeah, well, except for Joshua and Caleb, and then Moses would eventually die pretty soon. But anyway, the new generation of the fighting men, the total was 601,730. So a little bit of a decline from the previous total, which I think was 603,550. Anyway. Alright, so now you get to chapter 27. So the first 11 verses, the inheritance laws. So then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, from the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these were the names of his daughters: Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. They stood before Moses and Eleazar the priest, and before the leaders and all the congregation by the doorway of the tabernacle of meeting, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, but he was not in the company of those who gathered together against the Lord, in the company with Korah, but he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be removed from among his family, because he had no son? Give us a possession among our father's brothers. So the Lord brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad speak what is right. You shall surely give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brothers, and cause the inheritance of their father to pass to them. And you shall speak to the children of Israel, saying, If a man dies and has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughter. And if he has no daughter, then you shall have his inheritance be given to his brothers. And if he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to the closest relative to him and the family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be to the children of Israel a statute of judgment, just as the Lord commanded Moses. Alright, so basically in this section, the coming distribution of the land of Canaan, it presented a dilemma for the family of Zelophehad, since he had no sons. His 5 daughters boldly asked that they inherit the father's name and his inheritance. And the Lord's decision that the daughters should receive his inheritance, it became the basis of a preemptual statute in Israel governing inheritances. And Zelophehad was not involved in Korah's rebellion, but instead he died under God's judgment in the wilderness, just like the rest of the faithless Exodus generation. Well, except for Joshua and Caleb, since they're the only 2 of that generation that'll get to go into the promised land. Yep, and speaking of Joshua, that actually gets into the next section. Really? Yep, the next section. How about that? And this is the last section. Joshua, the next leader of Israel. Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Go up into the to this Mount Abiram, and see the land which I have given to the children of Israel. And when you have seen it, you shall also be gathered to your people, as Aaron your brother was gathered. from the wilderness, for the wilderness of Zin. During the strife of the congregation, you rebelled against my command to hallow me at the waters before their eyes. These are the waters of Meribah at Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. And then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation who may go out before them and go in before them, who may lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be like a sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord said to Moses, Take Joshua the son of Nun with you, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. Set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation, and inaugurate him in their sight, and you shall give some of your authority to him, that all the congregation of Israel may be obedient. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire before the Lord for him by the judgment of the Urim. And at his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, he and all the children of Israel with him, all the congregation. And so Moses did as the Lord commanded. And he took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation, and he laid his hands on him and inaugurated him, just as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses. Okay. Yep. So basically, that's what you got. Now Joshua is now chosen to be the leader of Israel. Before I continue with that, I forgot to mention this note from earlier. The following is the order of the inheritance from those previous verses. The son, daughter, brother, parental uncle, closest relative in the family. This same order, with the exception of the daughter, was followed in Leviticus 25, 48 through 49, dealing with various cases of redemption of the land in the Jubilee year. Okay. All right, anyway, back to Joshua. So God did reaffirmed that Moses is not going to enter the land of Canaan, although he ends up seeing it from Mount Nebo across from Jericho. In Deuteronomy 32, he'll see the land from afar, before he dies. And so, since Moses is not going to lead them into the promised land ultimately, they're going to need another leader to do that. And Moses' greatest concern was that Israel would have a good leader who was like a shepherd. And the Lord answered Moses' request by picking Joshua to be the leader. And so the Lord told Moses to lay his hand on Joshua. Now Joshua had already had the inner endowment for leadership. He was empowered by the Holy Spirit. Well, that's pretty much good enough. I mean, he got the Spirit. I mean, there's nothing that you can't do that the Lord would want you to do. And this inner endowment was to be recognized by an external ceremony. Moses publicly laid his hands upon Joshua, and this act signified the transfer of Moses' leadership to Joshua. The laying on of hands can accompany a dedication to any office. All right. So basically Joshua was being dedicated for this role. For him to be the next leader of the people of Israel after Moses dies. And he would be the one who would lead them into the promised land. In the book of Joshua. And also Moses would give some of his authority. Moses was to pass on some of the honor or majesty that he had to Joshua. Yep, and Moses had been able to communicate directly with God, but Joshua would receive the word from the Lord through the high priest. Yeah, by judgment of the Urim. And the Urim, basically, it was a part of the high priest's breastplate. It's just a means of determining the will of God at the time. The Urim and the Thummim, as they were called. All right. And that's pretty much all of Numbers 27. Yeah, the daughters were allowed to have their father's inheritance and continue on his name and have the land, since their father Zelophehad had no sons. And then that would be a statute that would continue on, that if the father had no sons, as heirs of inheritance, then it would go to the daughters, and then some other close relatives, and then just the closest one possible. Alright. And then Joshua gets chosen to be the new leader. Yep, he will lead the people into the promised land ultimately. Yep. And of course, ultimately, Jesus leads his people into the eternal promised land. And actually, I think Joshua and Jesus are basically like the same name. Yeah, Yahweh saves. Yahweh is my salvation. Yep. Yeah, how about that? Well, there you go. Well, that's pretty much it. And I already did the Prager one the other day, but I just wanted to wait to add it until I did this one. So I'll add those pretty soon, and Lord willing, I'll get to 28 another time. But until then, may God bless you, and the grace and mercy won by Jesus, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all.